The Story of an Hour by Kate Chopin, Level B1, Oxford Reading University.
Mrs. Mallard had a bad heart. That was why her sister Josephine tried to be as gentle as possible when announcing that her husband was dead. She chose her words very carefully, trying not to upset her sister. Richards, a friend of Mrs. Mallard's husband, was there too. He had been the first to learn the news about the railroad disaster. Brentley Mallard's name led the list of those killed in the accident. Immediately, Richards hurried to deliver the sad message to Mrs. Mallard before anyone less careful got to her. Unlike many other women, who were at first unable to accept the horrible truth, Mrs. Mallard believed it at once. She threw herself in her sister's arms, crying. When the storm of emotion had passed, she retired to her room. A comfortable armchair stood there, facing the open window. She sank into it with no strength left. The trees in the yard were breathing in the calm and beauty of early spring. The air was fresh and pleasant after the rain. The notes of birds' cheerful songs flowed through the air and reached her. She sat silently and didn't move, except when a wave of emotion gathered in her throat and shook her. She looked like a child who had cried themselves to sleep and continued to cry in their dreams. Her eyes were fixed on the sky but reflected nothing. At that moment, she lacked all sensible thought. Some odd feeling was rising within her, and she was waiting for it to come to the surface. She feared it, too. What was it? She could hardly define it, but she could feel it in every sound and color that filled the air. She could feel it flow through the sky and into her chest. Mrs. Mallard started breathing heavily. She was beginning to recognize the feeling that was about to consume her. She tried hard to press it back down, but her will was as weak as her thin, pale hands. Then she gave up, and one tiny word escaped her lips. She said it over and over. "Free, free, free." The empty look disappeared from her eyes. They shone with hope and passion for life. Her heart beat fast, and the running blood warmed and relaxed every inch of her body. Even though she was frightened and embarrassed, she had to admit it. She was glad that her husband was dead. Of course, she would cry again at the sight of his soft hands or his dead gray face. But at the same time, she imagined her future, all those years she would spend alone. They belonged to her only, and she opened and spread her arms out to them in welcome. She would live for herself. No one would ever force her to do anything again. Married men and women usually believe they have a right to force each other into things. But it didn't matter to Mrs. Mallard whether people did so with kind or cruel intentions. The act felt like a crime one way or another. And yet sometimes she had loved him. Often she had not. But what was love? The unsolved mystery compared to freedom. Free, free in body and spirit, she repeated to herself quietly. Josephine stood on her knees behind the closed door, pressing her lips to the keyhole. "Louise, open the door," she cried. "You will make yourself ill. What are you doing, Louise?" "Go away," said Mrs. Mallard. "I am not making myself ill." Indeed, she wasn't. She was drinking in the elixir of life through the open window. With excitement, she dreamed of all those days ahead of her. Spring days, summer days, all sorts of days that belonged to her and no one else. She said a quick prayer. "May my life be long." Eventually, she got up from the armchair with an effort and opened the door to her worried sister. Her eyes lit up with happiness. She held Josephine tight in her arms, and together they went downstairs. Richard stood waiting for them at the bottom. Suddenly, they heard someone unlock the door with a key. It was Brentley Mallard who entered, carrying his suitcase and umbrella. His suit was untidy and a little worn. He had been far from the scene of the accident and did not even know there had been one. He stood still when Josephine cried loudly and lost her senses. When the doctors came, they said she had died of heart disease, of happiness that kills.
If you want more English audiobooks with translations and transcriptions, try EWA app today. Listen, read, learn new words, and dive into the world of adventure, crime, romance, and magic every day. All in one place, appewa.com. And now, listen to another story.